metaverse, and the NFT industry today. This is Anissa, and in the next 60 minutes, we'll be discussing the key considerations, crossroads, and predictions for digital art and collectible marketplaces in the NFT scene today, otherwise known as non-fungible tokens. I'm utterly thrilled and honored to have Dr. David An, the Director of Business Development for Binance NFT, join us. The Binance NFT marketplace is powered by the Binance Smart Chain and Binance Community. It features all forms of digital artworks and collectibles and is the highest liquidity platform for users to launch and trade NFTs. David has over 20 years of experience as a business development expert, a general manager, and startup entrepreneur. And prior to Binance, he was the CEO of Gleam Influencer Marketing, a leading agency for gaming KOLs on Twitch, TikTok, and Facebook. David, it's an honor to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Anissa. Great to see you.
So to start us off, I'd love to hear a little bit about your background and how you got into crypto and then the NFT or crypto art scene in the first place.
Sure. So I started my career actually in no, that was lying. prior to the millennia. So 20 years. I wanted to say 20 years. Actually in venture capital. So I worked for a company called Deutsche Telekom, and we had a corporate VC fund. We were back then actually one of the very first corporate VCs. Also spent some time in Silicon Valley. That was also a period which kind of influenced me a lot. I'm based in Europe and educated here in Germany. So although I don't look particularly German, I am actually quite German. What brought me to crypto in the last 20 years is a couple of missed opportunities, to be honest. So in 2013, we had a colleague who was like utterly not a nice guy, and he was talking about Bitcoin, and we were just telling him, just please, can you please be quiet? We don't want to hear about it. We're busy. What is this Satoshi thing going on? And just like, and then I actually, to be honest, I kind of got curious and I wanted to buy some Bitcoin. So what happens, of course, you're lazy, you don't do it, you miss it. And then 2017, there was the crash. And another missed opportunity, basically 2000, I think 15 it was, where the ICO of Ethereum was. And I kind of was attracted to Vitalik because he was this really weird kind of geeky guy, hyper intelligent, talking about smart contracts and blockchain. I was kind of attracted to what he said, but what can you do? You're busy, you're doing some other stuff. And so I missed that train again. I actually missed the ICO. So that was a second missed opportunity. And then, so basically I really got into it back, I would say early last year. So I'm kind of a late re-entrant person to the game, basically. So early last year is basically when I really re-entered the space and really got attracted to a couple of, tokens and a couple of entrepreneurs in that space, a couple of friends in the VC space who basically raised money at that time. Really hard in Europe to raise money, and even to that day, really hard on the limited partner side to raise money on the crypto side. But yeah, and then I got into crypto. Of course, you start with fungible tokens, and then got into NFTs, and basically trying to do a little bit of activity in my previous company. We were basically an agency and in the influencer marketing space, and last year already we saw a lot of activities in the influencer/KOL space where some companies tried to tokenize activity of large influencers. So that was also like kind of from a professional perspective where we wanted to kind of branch out into some sort of a content syndication network where you would essentially tokenize KOL content that were produced by KOLs that they did for brands and so forth. You could literally basically tokenize this. Ultimately, I really understood, I think early last year, that everything that can be tokenized will be tokenized. That's for me like the fundamental thesis starting last year and actually going forward, and it's why I actually am here at Binance NFT as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it's fascinating hearing your story because from what I heard, Europe is slightly slower in catching up with crypto and what's going on. So how you were able to get into the scene and follow it so closely, albeit missed opportunities, is impressive. And with your experience being in the influencer space, I mean, I've always said that NFTs is kind of the gateway for celebrities and influencers to market themselves and productize themselves. And the productization model that people are currently using, or influencers, with merches or affiliate links, don't really work anymore, right? Because people are innovatizing themselves. So with NFTs, it's really created this new dynamic where creators can really interact one-on-one with their collectors. So it's definitely an interesting time to be alive. And yeah, it's fascinating. And so now that we know a bit about your background and who David is, let's delve into all the questions about Binance NFT. So
Sure.
when Binance launched in June of this year, kicking off your first series of mystery boxes and the 100 creators program, everyone, including myself, was on the edge of their seats waiting to see how Binance was going to grow the NFT ecosystem. So tell me a little bit about that, specifically the how, the why, and the when Binance NFT got its start.
hmm So the exact launch date was June 24th, and I actually started working for Binance NFT and actually for Binance on July 1st. So I was pretty much 1 week into the game. So I believe for Binance, which is the market leader in the fungible token space, it comes without saying that we already saw like early, I would say probably early last year, at the end of last year, that NFT is or probably before is big, and so the platform was built in 2021, and really under the premise to come up with an approach that makes it as easy as possible for users to buy NFTs. So that's why we're a central marketplace. So that means that users who are logged into Binance.com automatically can access their funds on Binance.com to buy NFTs. So it's literally one click away from the traditional exchange business. You just click on this button called NFT on the main page of Binance.com, and then you're in Binance NFT. And then you're logged in, and then you see an NFT. You don't have to basically pay any gas fees or connect an extra wallet or something like that. You're already logged in, and your funds are there. You might have used your fiat payment mechanisms to upload funds, a dollar, whatever, and then you can basically buy the NFTs a la carte from the marketplace on that are there via BUSD, BNB, or Ether. So those are the three cryptocurrencies that we currently approach. And so our approach was really from the get-go to be a curated marketplace. So that means we're not fully open. We want to make sure we have great content on the platform. Creators have to go through a review process of vetting and making sure that we have great content on the platform. So that was starting with the 100 Creators program. We also instantly, quite soon, started with a very interesting format that we believe is super innovative, called mystery boxes. So that means when users basically buy a mystery box and then open that mystery box, only then will you see whether you got like a super rare or a super rare or a rare NFT. So we really wanted to provide a user experience that is not only smooth and easy to use and like really cater towards the mass market, but also give a little bit of a gamification element towards the experience, the overall experience of buying and selling and owning, trading NFTs. So I would say those are like the primary, whys. Also, is like number one is really being a global platform for curated creator content, and making it as easy as possible with your existing tools, payment tools you have on Binance.com to buy NFTs. So those would be, I think, the main drivers and the whys and the hows of Binance NFT.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for the recap. I mean, it's kind of like a come for the network and then stay for the marketplace type of situation. And you're right. NFTs is really the fastest growing subsection in cryptocurrency right now. And with
Mm.
that comes online marketplaces, right? And especially at a time where they're more than ever, having a differentiator is really essential. So as you mentioned, right, I agree that a curated marketplace is really one of the only ways to ensure quality at the moment. So building on that question, from what I understand, Binance NFT has three varying levels of service or product lines. I know that you mentioned one of them, which was the mystery boxes, which I would love to
Mhm.
delve for you to delve into even more in depth. But how do you
Mhm.
sort of feel about these tiers? And can you tell us a little bit more about that and what these product lines entail for creators who want to participate in the Binance marketplace?
Mhm. So on top of mystery boxes, we also have something we call premium event, basically. So these are more. So we did a drop with Jose Delbo, who's one of the leading comic artists in the world. Also, I'm a very big personal fan of Jose Delbo. He's one of the top DC artists of the past 20 years. He was drawing Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, and so forth. We did a fantastic drop with him where we combined a English auction with fixed price sale items. So basically, the auction items would be really rare, and in that case, there would be only one art piece per drawing, per painting. We had two of those, which were expensively sold and auctioned off by an English auction. So that means the latest, highest bidder gets the piece. But we also were thinking about not only the ones who can afford 30, 50, 60,000 USD, BUSD in terms of pricing and have the pockets to really cater towards people, as I said, in the mass market. So at an affordable price, we had items from his other character called Satoshi, Mr. Satoshi, who basically allowing users to buy at a three-digit figure, low-priced items at higher volumes, so we could have more people being happy of owning those NFTs and actually being able to afford that in order to not only frustrate the ones who just stare at basically the expensive items, but making them available to the masses.
Absolutely. I think that from one of your interviews, you mentioned that with Binance, one of your mission was to really create the lowest barrier to entry for people to get
Mm.
into the marketplace. So I think that this is something that you guys definitely strived and achieved. And when you're mentioning, collaborating with these well-known artists and these really household names, right? For example, with Jose Delbo, and I also own some of his pieces, so I'm a big fan as well. But I also know that you guys launched the first ever NFT collection with the global luxury fashion brand Jimmy Choo for the very first time. So, I mean, the collection and the promotions were incredible. So, huge congratulations for that. But when you're working with these brands or artists, right, what is the level of agency the artists or designers have in regards to designing the mechanics for a drop? So, for example, the number of editions and the auction styles that you mentioned. And in other words, right, how closely does your team work with them in designing their next collection?
Yeah. So it is a very close collaboration. And I mean, if I were to answer this question from a statistics point of view, every case is so unique. So although we have best practices, because every case is so unique, you cannot apply like with statistical high significance, some sort of blueprint towards each and every NFT drop. So I think there's some, I would say, learnings from the past that we always try to apply, and some of the also on the other side, the that we really are user centric, and we don't want to only make a few buyers and collectors happy, but really ideally as many as possible. So those are some of the fundamental principles I think that are really relevant to us, being user centric, being offering not only to a few high, collectors with deep pockets, but also people who can actually afford it. And so when we work with those partners, there's a phase, I would say a conceptualization phase, where we exchange learnings and we basically try to cater towards those different segments. It is quite a, I would say, also like an analytical discussion that we say, okay, what are the price brackets that make sense for this kind of art piece? What are the price brackets for this kind of brand? For Jimmy Choo, for instance, of course, like this is a very high value brand. So, of course, price is always a communication of value, even if it's a fixed price or whatever. So, that is also important. Whereas, when you have GameFi NFTs, not necessarily important to have like a super expensive price from the get-go, right? Price there is not communicating some sort of value. A shield or a sword can as well be like really cheap. So as long as it has utility. So it really depends on the context. Is this a high fashion brand? Is this a GameFi application? Is this a traditional brand that just tries to go into the NFT space. So it varies case by case, and we have like an open exchange and debate on what we want to achieve, what are the boundary conditions, what is the overall budget that is there also in order, what are the expectations, or let me say better, what are the expectations from the client? Is this something that really is important for the partner to make a living, or is this something where the partner is more trying to experiment? Sometimes we also even have that, right, where we have brands who, just take a fashion brand. Doesn't necessarily mean that if the drop goes bad that they will be completely unhappy, because it's not NFTs in this case is not their core business. So it's really something that they want to learn, and so their willingness to experiment is, I would say, way more higher than with a couple of artists who really want to make a living out of that because it's core to their revenue model essentially.
Absolutely. I think you really hit the nail on the head there. I mean, there's so many factors, and it's such a multifaceted decision that you guys have to make because, I mean, NFTs is still such a nascent market, right? There's no actual price signal on what things should be priced at. It's all determined by the market. So, I mean, for example, right, when we're talking about luxury goods, last year a virtual Gucci bag essentially sold for $4,000 on Roblox, which was actually more expensive than the physical item. So, I mean, talking about these luxury goods, I mean, I even saw that recently you guys onboarded or collaborated with, some of these household names like Vogue or Balmain Paris and more.
Yes.
And so as the director of business development, I would just love to get to know a little bit more about your thoughts on this. Which one was more valuable, the physical or the NFT aspects of it? And what is the process of scouting and selecting IPs to feature?
Yeah. So for Vogue, they are like super passionate about the NFT. So we want to kind of find out, um, what is the reason, and how does it actually fit into the overall branding strategy, business model, value add towards the partner. And we really want to see whether there's a long-term motivation to kind of engage with that new nascent but heavily growing market. So the more we kind of sense that there is a willingness to experiment, a willingness to kind of test out the waters, and and really understand in how far that can contribute to actually driving innovation at the partner side. I mean, those NFTs can be a test bed for potentially the next collection, the next physical collection, depending on how those items are traded, not only like bought in the primary market, but also traded in the secondary market. So I think there's a lot of learnings that traditional brands can actually take from the NFT space, especially since those are rare items that are limited in units sizes and in edition sizes. So and that kind of is the same analogy often with fashion in the real world, right? You cannot produce like unlimited editions of that kind of scarf at a Hermes brand or whatever. So scarcity and rarity of digital items, I think those learnings can as well translate into the physical world, and give them insights as to what are potential trends, what are potential features in the market that they could apply here.
Absolutely. And I think I do want to, delve a little bit more into that, right? I mean, expanding on that, the successful bidder for the Balmain Flame dress, for that collection would also be able to take part or port their NFT into the Alveta app, which is a virtual gaming commerce site, right? I mean, China right now is the biggest market to date to experiment with this idea of shop attainment. So it was fascinating when I saw you guys, experiment with this because I've never seen this in any other platform so far, especially with, digital fashion, which is definitely booming right now. And this really indicates the popularity of luxury brands paired in a mobile game format. So I just want to see how the collectors kind of interest, in this NFT, and how do you think this has any long-term indications of where digital art is going to go in online marketplaces?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, because I'm also dealing with the GameFi segment a lot, we see a very big trend of so-called metaverse applications. And talking about fashion, although it's quite nascent also as
Mhm.
well, and to be honest, many of the GameFi or games applications that I see nowadays, they almost all of a sudden just start to call it metaverse, although I don't see metaverse. All of a sudden every MMO or MMORPG or RPG game turns out to be like a metaverse, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not a metaverse. This is just a game, with some people playing online in a real-time fashion. So we have to be a little bit cautious, what we really call metaverse, and what is just at the end of the day nothing else, just as like an MMO or an MMORPG with a just different label on it. However, having said that, we're a very big believer in metaverse. So and NFTs, of course, do play a very essential part in that your second identity almost is kind of built in the metaverse. And this is not a new concept. I mean, think about it, like Second Life make quite substantial amount of revenue. I mean, they're not really haven't been really big at the end of the day, but everyone kind of understood that this kind of notion of a virtual world, which now we all call metaverse, is becoming one of the most prevalent themes of 22 and going forward. So, and coming back to your question on fashion, of course, here now fashion becomes a very big driver of differentiating and creating your own identity of in the metaverse. So so we're really thrilled to see like a lot of metaverse applications that are true, that are aiming to become true metaverses. We're actually potentially in the future, of course, you can wear a Hermes bag or Louis Vuitton bag or a Jimmy Choo, whatever, in the metaverse, and that will have, of course, tremendous value. And I think the fashion industry potentially sees that as one of the big revenue drivers in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, huge shout out to your point, right? I mean, it's easy to claim that your business or company is all about the latest trend, whether that be creator economy, NFTs, metaverse, or whatever, right? But I mean, right now, metaverse is really kind of like the buzzword for a lot of companies, I feel like, to prove that they have some sort of utility in their
Yeah.
branding for the roadmap sometime down the line. But I mean, there's so many aspects to it, or elements that people don't think about, right? It's like, your identity aspect, you can be whoever you want to be. You build relationships with everyone, with friends and networks. You lose yourself in a 3D virtual world, which is the immersiveness. And you feel like your closest friends are next to you. And, really you can be there anywhere in the world. So it's just fascinating for Binance to experiment with this entirely new idea of fashion and really put it in the marketplace, because it's really the first of its kind that I've seen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So one thing that I want to know from you as well, having started Binance, earlier on in this year, I want to know, what are some of the coolest trends that you've been able to see in the last 6 months
Yeah.
with Binance NFT marketplace? And again, what are the long implications do you think they have?
Fascinating. So I mean, like wake up with NFTs and I
Mhm.
go to bed with NFTs. So my wife kind of gets jealous about not being an NFT these days. So really, I must say, so when when so so when I initially got kind of into this NFT space, of course, it kind of started with NFT art, and then it kind of got into this collectible space, right? And for me, and then I kind of thought about this, and I came up with my own, like, I called it like the 5O pizza model. It's like, okay, what are NFTs? And it's like, for me, it boiled down to like 5 O's. It's like, let me check what I can get. So originality, number one, is this piece of art really original and authentic by Anissa or David or whoever?
Mhm.
That's the first. The provenance is important.
Yeah.
Origin, like, and who owned it, who sold it, where did it go? And so the whole idea of provenance also comes along with this. So the creator, as well as the whole storyline behind an artwork. And then the other third O is like the obtain model. So I can obtain royalties all of a sudden. So in the smart contract, it allows me to basically not have some guy who buys this piece of art and then just basically potentially rips me off, and then goes away and makes like a ton of money, and me just staring into the darkness
Mhm.
basically. And then the other O's were, so obtain, originality, and origin, and yeah, what was the other O's? See, I forgot the other O's. So those were the basic drivers for me the initial thinking of NFTs. And those were primarily static, images, the images themselves. Yeah. So basically, you have the image itself, you have the token ID, which basically refers to that object, which is stored on either central server or IPFS or Arweave or whatever. And then what we now see is that these NFTs start to have their own intelligence and living. So that means integrating, for instance, oracles. So that means something happens in the real world that has an effect on what happens with the NFT. So the NFT itself could change its appearance based on the weather, or let's say CO2 emission reaches a certain level, the NFT basically explodes or burns itself or something like that. We have first NFTs which kind of are even tied to a artificial intelligence algorithm which allows the NFT to basically learn itself and become some sort of a robot. We actually have NFTs that are not only ERC 721, but also issue additional tokens. So this is the idea of, I would say, ERC 1155, basically issuing semi-fungible tokens. So any token can issue additional tokens. Could also be used in the game world. You have an ERC 721 or a BEP 721 launching additional kind of fungible tokens such as ammunition, swords, shield, or whatever. And so those are basically some of the areas that we see are super important. And then at the end of the day, these utilities are now being used, that NFTs are becoming way more intelligent and providing more utility in the future, are more and more used in various verticals that we see. Number one is, for instance, DeFi. We see that NFTs now all of a sudden can be fractionalized, can be sold in pieces, can be actually composed. So you have the area of composability. You could actually have an NFT of an NFT where basically the NFT is fractionalized, the original NFT is fractionalized, pieces are getting into this NFT. You could, in theory, put in some fungible tokens and then, put that together and then sell as another token. So the area of composability becomes really important. And then, as I mentioned, dynamic characters. And then in the DeFi space, what we see is that NFTs all of a sudden become some sort of a real asset which has value. The more mature NFT market gets, the more people have in terms of historical data of its value. So what they will do is they will use historical data in order to project future value. That's nothing else what happens in the equity or bond markets. They basically project future cash flows based on historical data in order to derive the actual value and then discount that back at the discount rate of the present cost of capital. And minus the growth that's behind it. So because actually every asset could potentially grow in perpetuity in theory, so that would boost the value, of course. Worst case, or not worst case, but like if the discount rate, is so small and the growth is higher, then it grows in infinity theoretically, right? So that's what's happening. So NFTs, since they're become more mature, can become some sort of collateral. So we see that NFTs not only can be used as a staking tool, but also basically as a collateral. So you can borrow money, you can get a loan or something like this based on an NFT. So in the DeFi space, we see a lot of that, like fractionalization, loans, collateralization, and so forth. Of course, we still have to wait a little bit on the DeFi side because not many NFTs have a very stable pricing fluctuation, basically. Most of the NFTs are still, fluctuating quite high. So volatility is quite a big issue. So we're still early in those days. Second trend is, of course, GameFi. GameFi is huge. We see that NFTs, as people ask themselves, okay, what can I do with these NFTs actually? Other than having a social utility and putting them as a PFP, we see that NFTs can basically be used in games. So the entire play-to-earn economy, of course, is something that every game publisher that I talk to right now is basically thinking about. What can we do with NFTs? How does the play-to-earn model work? And of course, with Axie Infinity, I do think we have, some of you might remember Netscape, when Netscape came out with as the first real big commercial browser, and actually framed the terminology of portal, and an entire industry of portals came out. Entire industry was basically born. So I think the I think Axie Infinity is some sort of a Netscape moment for the play to earn blockchain crypto space in the NFT space, especially in GameFi. So we will see like every game publisher entering into the GameFi space. And so those are the trends that we currently see. And another thing that I'm completely also like super passionate is about music. Where we like at Binance, we invested in a company called Melos. And so we will see that more and more artists actually will dive into the NFT space. We had models like Euler Beats, which basically are a generative art of music tracks. So it was actually an AI that created a couple of, I think they have like 3 tracks, 3 series. And then they were actually issuing the ERC 1155 were issued by the original soundtrack. And then you could basically buy a print and then even return that print back according to a bonding curve. Whereas your price that you would get when you sell it, so when the price that you would get back would be the latest price of the bonding curve. So that was also like a really interesting experiment. So we also see NFTs as a real disruptor to specific industries. That is really, really great. And another, and then I'll just be quiet. Another industry that we see is, of course, NFTs as a technology enabler, such as the ticketing industry. I mean, there is such a big black market of tickets and so forth. And so all we need is like blockchain technology, distributed ledger, and NFTs that actually allow to really lower the cost of verification to an efficient size to make ticketing, go the next tech wave level. Sorry.
No, absolutely. I mean, again, it's amazing insights, and with the 5 O's that you created, the commercialability of NFTs is really just through scarcity and provenance, right? And it's funny that you mentioned Axie Infinity because I feel like a lot of these games that try to gamify or have this play to earn model, they kind of just claim that they're play to earn, but in fact, all they're doing is just staking. So
Yes,
I think that's a funny trend
exactly.
that we're exactly
Absolutely.
right. Mhm.
Absolutely. And let me say one thing about
Yeah.
this. And I totally agree what you just said. I mean, like a lot of the GameFi applications out there in the market, and this is really crying out to the
Mhm.
community here, is like a lot of the games that I see is like really complete crap in terms
Yep.
of gameplay. As you said, it's complete, it's just a yield farm at the end of the
Mhm.
day. And this is really, really bad because we see then, yield farm hopping at the end of the day. People just go there to get the highest APY, and once it's sucked out, basically
Mhm.
just go to the next yield farm. And so this is precisely not good for the industry, but I'm not worried at all because I see so many talented, formerly free-to-play game developers jumping into the play-to-earn space. And I think we will see a new breed of startups, not the big ones like the Blizzards and the EAs of the world that will basically be disruptive. They're way too big to kind of understand, and they're not agile enough to go into the play-to-earn space. But we will see like a lot of super talented, formerly free-to-play traditional developers go into the play-to-earn space and create actually the new next X Infinities or whatnot that actually will become like the next unicorns. And by the way, the 2 O's that I forgot to mention are only a few.
Ah, gotcha.
Sorry, yeah.
No problem at all. Yeah, I mean, to your earlier point, right? I mean, while we're on the point of gamifying, right? I mean, we're seeing new novel ways to gamify NFTs as well, right? I mean, talking about the trends that we've been seeing, I feel like in December, what we really saw was a boom in art, but I also feel like it was just because the barrier to entry was very low. It was easy for people to grasp, and that's why everyone kind of went for that. And then earlier to this year, we saw the boom in collectibles, so NBA Top Shot, so on and so forth. And then afterwards, towards the mid-year, we saw the boom in PFP projects. And I feel like now, once people have started to get more familiarized with, NFT Twitter and really delve into the knowledge of that, I feel like people are now really starting to focus on what the utility of NFTs are, right? So, I mean, something that I really want to see in NFTs moving forward is, not only just a utility, but what Web 3.0 protocols can you actually embed in them, right? Can we embed non-fungible technology or Web3 protocols running in the background without people even noticing, right? And when we're talking about that, utility, and this is a question that the community brought up too when we're talking about gaming. I just kind of want to put these two together. Are there any play to earn games that will be developed under Binance that, has some NFT functionality in them?
I think there's a lot.
Mm.
So we have actually announced a fund, a BSC fund of 1 billion USD, and
Mm.
a lot of the part is actually going into direct investments into tokens of GameFi applications. So Binance itself, of course, is not a game developer, but we actually care a lot about the ecosystem, the GameFi ecosystem, and basically helping to find and build and nurture the next unicorns in the GameFi space. So you will see basically that what we do at Binance is that because we really embrace the GameFi industry, we will try to help them with various partnership models. Number one, investment, BSC fund, Binance Labs, like all those. They invest in equity, so they might take shares and be on a board, but they might also be buying governance tokens, or even buying NFTs. So that is something that happens on the fund size, on the fund level. And then what we do at Binance NFT is really helping GameFi applications grow by a new model that we call IGO. So we have actually developed a new format. So you can think of it some sort of a launch pad for GameFi applications before they actually launch their offerings so before the game release. Actually, you can just issue your tokens, your NFT tokens, via Binance NFT. So this is something that we're really passionate about. So we're already having D-Race, which is a racing game, and their second IGO via a so-called premium event, and the issue versus the current floor price is already like 23x, and the company is basically auctioning off the two super high premium horses. So this is the second IGO we already did together. So you can see from there that they're already super happy, and we will continue to support GameFi studios to launch their NFTs on Binance NFT through our platform.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like a game incubator slash accelerator, right? With what you guys are doing. So it's fascinating because I feel like, yeah, we do have some investors in this space, but a lot of people are more passive rather than active, which I feel like kind of changing from that or moving away from that model of being more passive with investors. Absolutely. So I do want to move back into more of this marketplace kind of conversation about art and collectibles. But
Mm.
with current NFT marketplaces, right? I feel like now we're kind of going beyond just digitally connecting the supply and demand at this point, right? Marketplaces are proactively raising the bar and elevating their customer experiences. So I would love you to tell me a little bit about what Binance's roadmap is to really creating that mature and sustainable online NFT marketplace, right? And how do you address your user expectations of quality in order to really tap into that huge global market? Like, for example, prioritizing trade offs or spending time with customers and your community.
Yeah. So our approach is really to become some sort of a Amazon.com for NFTs. So really providing the best user experience. And of course, through various channels, we take feedback from customers. So we have qualitative as well as quantitative approaches to gathering knowledge, insight, things that we need to improve. And to be honest, there's a lot that we still have to do on our platform. We were super fast in launching it, and as you might know, like one of our competitor in the traditional exchange business is just about to launch probably this year. And so we were really fast in launching the market and basically going out in the market with a product that some of the features might not be there because the first incumbents, or let's say the first movers, have already kind of gotten a I would say time advantage in terms of being first to the market, first mover advantage, and therefore having been able to basically iterate towards more of a product market fit. So I think we're on a completely great path towards product market fit. Some of the features are not there yet in terms of discovery, in terms of search, in terms of categorization, in terms of creator tools. So I think that those tools that we really feel are necessary to retain our users on the platform. So the metrics, when I mentioned quantitative, we're very quantitatively looking every day on the number of users, the number of traders, where do users come from, how long do they stake, how many trades do they do per day, how many trades do first-time users do, when are they coming back, what are the drops that actually are most attractive to them, how is their secondary market performance of them, do they make money? And so all those metrics, we actually do take a look very, very meticulously, while actually getting filling up the product roadmap and the backlog with those, I would say, fundamental features. And also on the IGO space, this is something that we will build in the future. Right now, it's really about basically bringing the tokens into the market in a best, most, and highest efficient manner for those GameFi applications in Q4. That's currently our focus. Going forward, what I see is basically that we will see more technical integration with other marketplaces potentially, because at the end of the day, most of the GameFi applications, most of the big applications that have a lot of turnover, that have a lot of NFTs, a very big user base, will ask themselves, all right, they're marketplaces, but we also need our own marketplace. So I think, to be honest, a marketplace will become a commodity for many of the big applications going forward who will be successful. So every unicorn application at the end of the day will, and it deals with NFTs and where NFTs are actually being sold, traded, bought by the end users, will end up having their own marketplace. So I think at the end of the day, for us, who is a general marketplace with a very high level of liquidity, with Binance.com as a fundament, and also, of course, the user base that we're continuously growing, will be some sort of a secondary liquidity pool for any other partner out there. So strategically, I think this will be more of a coexistence rather than a fierce, bloody red ocean competition. I think that doesn't make a lot of sense. It's really about co-opetition. So really collaborating and competing at the same time, and really building the integration and application tools that actually enable us to coexist with other marketplaces. We're actually filling the gap actually is quite an interesting concept. Some of the stuff that they might not be able to sell on their own marketplace, they can maybe trade on our marketplace. So I think there is no reason to engage in any fierce competition. There will be room for collaboration on the marketplace level, on the trading level, as well as on the technical level. So basically below on the multi-chain trading activity as well, where we already started to embrace multi-chain trading activities, already possible for our users and creators to basically deposit their Ethereum mainnet-based NFTs onto Binance NFT and access the liquidity that's available through Binance NFT. So that is already active and live and kicking. Just connect your MetaMask wallet, deposit your NFT, and then you can, if you want to sell it, you haven't been able to sell it somewhere else, you can sell it on Binance NFT. If you're not able to sell it on Binance NFT, just withdraw it back to your MetaMask or Trust Wallet or whatever, and then off you go. So it's some sort of a cross-chain trading function that we already have built. So I see those. So that's a long answer to your question, but I really see those cross-trading activity happening on the technical level as well as on the application level as a marketplace, so to say. Multi-chain plus trading APIs. So those would be, I think, very important themes in 2022.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for your comprehensive answer. I think that's something that you guys implemented fairly recently as well, was the creator profile page. I think it was just last month too, right? And it just really shows that you guys were able to really have those high velocity feedback loops and really make the community feel like they're building the product with you, right? Whether that be with urgent trackers or really checking and assessing the health and sentiment of your community. So, I mean, it's funny, right? Because it's a market filled with so much uncertainty right now. Marketplaces are still so uncertain. And it's interesting that you guys are prioritizing efficiency over speed, right? Or else I would be kind of like blitz scaling. So you guys are really taking your time to make the correct steps and really developing your products. So it's it's just fascinating to me. And with your idea of that, it's not really like this bloodbath of everyone's fighting for the best IPs to ensure that everyone has the best quality. They're going to be more than one winner, right? So I kind of
Absolutely.
just want
Yeah.
to turn this into my next question, right? I mean, as you mentioned, you guys recently just introduced the interoperability into Binance NFT, which I think really, exemplifies that idea of free money. And, again, it's not bloodbath, which is that cross-chain functionality with Ethereum, which is very rare. And even if so, it requires a lot of steps in, other platforms. And so last month, I think there were already 10 Ethereum projects that were ready to be whitelisted onto Binance. How many projects are whitelisted now?
I think it should be over 40
Oh my.
that are whitelisted right now. And we're adding them so we initially started really slow, adding, 5, 10, and so forth. I think there should be at least 30, 40 right now or more. We're adding them every day. So that is something that we see is providing tremendous value to the community. And really, as you said, uh, fierce competition doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's just complete nonsense because right now they're probably about, I don't know the exact figures. There are various research done on the current size of the market. They're probably, I would say, around 1.2 million active wallets who basically buy NFTs or potentially more. So, I mean, think about that. And then we might have 300 to 350 or 400 million crypto users who ever bought like from a Bitcoin to like whatever BNB coin, a fungible token. So I mean, just think about that and set that into relation into the overall population of 9 billion that we have on a planet, and potentially, I don't know, 7 billion who could own anything that is related to crypto. So there's a long, long way to go. And so all the good reason to actually grow the industry together and not kind of engage in fierce price wars or competition that kind of is really detrimental to both parties.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And so this is my second last question to you, and then we can move on to the community questions. But with the blockchain, there are some caveats that the creators and contributors look at, right, when determining which marketplace to adopt or go to. And that said, I'm bringing out the hard questions, but there's been conversation about the 1% royalty payment that is currently in place. But I've
Hmm.
also recently
Hmm.
heard that Binance creators will be able to set their royalties at a flexible rate in the very near future. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I just came from a chat
Mhm,
where I'm pushing towards quick, fast implementation. I can say
mhm,
that this will definitely happen. This is, I would say there is some sort of a path dependency here.
mm,
And what I mean by that is the following. Binance.com has a tradition of being a high frequency trading platform for crypto. And so that is our DNA. And I think Super Rare 3 years ago had the similar discussion with creators. I think Super Rare did also not start with 10% royalty fee.
mhm,
And so I believe there were some very outspoken creators who kind of gathered together and wrote an official letter to Super Rare, and,
mm,
and, and they changed it, right? So
mm,
I think there's some learning as an organization that you have to go through getting into a new market that is new to you. Yeah.
mm,
So an NFT for Binance this year has been a new market in a way. Adjacent to the traditional centralized crypto exchange business, NFT is an adjacent new market that deals with NFTs, of course, Binance NFT. And that is a different market. That's a very different laws of dynamics in that economy. And I think that we as an organization, we had to go through that process of kind of understanding that the NFT market is a super creator driven economy.
mm,
And why I mentioned the term path dependency is that we have a path dependency towards this more user centric, high frequency trading heritage, basically. So that means when we drafted Binance NFT as a marketplace, we said, let's really make it cheap and easy for users, for end users to trade and not pay too much, right? And so that's why originally the royalty fee for secondary market transaction was set at 1%. So it actually was at a good intention. Now, as we have all understood and learned that there is a very outspoken creator community who actually wants to make a living out of that. And I think we have understood that. And actually, I really push towards this really important feature, and this is going to be implemented quite soon. I hope. I don't want to make promises, but I think I'm fairly confident it will be not only implemented but also rolled out within November. So and this is also like something that I feel is super important. The art community has been badly treated by history in the past 100 years, um, in relation, like in comparison to, let's take YouTubers. I mean, YouTubers take 40 to 30 or sometimes 50% of the advertising revenue from MCNs. It's a big money. It's a lot of money. At least music artists take some cut from Spotify streaming. So I think comparably, they were always doing better than visual artists in the traditional fine art space. So we understood that. We're completely passionate about the creator economy, and we will continue to support, of course, the creator economy. No content without like good content can only be, of course, on our platform if we really nurture the creator economy and we really respect that. And so this feature will be live and kicking definitely this year, hopefully November.
Absolutely. And you answered that perfectly, David. I mean, it's really about balancing both sides in the marketplace, right? It's the seller and the buyer. And at the start, when projects are still needing to understand the landscape, sometimes one side is going to, experience a bit higher friction, but it isn't linear. And it isn't always going to be one-sided. It's always going to be kind of like a balance, So absolutely, I agree
Absolutely.
with that
Yeah.
100%. So that was my second to last question, but this is probably going to be one of the hardest questions in this entire interview, not counting the community questions. But if you had to choose, and only one, if you had to choose one of your favorite NFTs from the Binance marketplace, which one would it be?
Well, it would be Jose Delbo's
Mm,
Satoshi, because I am so passionate about Jose Delbo. So unfortunately, I didn't have the money to
no.
to bid, but I am really passionate about Jose Delbo's Superman and Batman, and so I'm a very big fan of him. So that was actually quite an easy question, Anissa.
Okay.
You have to try
Okay.
harder.
I didn't expect that. We'll try harder next time when we have you on
Okay,
again.
no worries, no worries.
Awesome. So let's delve into the community questions. So, what will be the fee attached to buying and selling NFTs on Binance?
Yeah. So if you just get listed, you basically get 100% of the revenues. Whenever there's a transaction, there's a 1% fee that the seller has to pay. So that's basically it. If you go for a premium partnership, so that means, and a premium partnership, I will say this because I've also been on the other side of the of the table, so to say, having spent many years in the mobile app industry, and I was pitching apps to the feature team at Apple, for instance. They would actually ask me to do a lot of advertising,
Mm,
um, you know, for getting featured. And getting featured in the early days would drive tremendous amount of downloads, of course. And every download, at a cost per installation, so CPI at, I don't know, $4, $5, $6, $7, depending on the territory, would end up as an equal value to millions of dollars. So naturally, Apple would basically ask me to actually provide, number one, a lot of advertising for the own app that I'm bringing to the market and that should be featured on the main page of the App Store, number one. And also, App Store would actually charge 30%, which is the standard fee of Google Play and Apple App Store. And at Binance, with the premium partnership, we only charge 10%. So we're way lower than that.
understood. And I think building on the dApps question, someone asked, can people develop dApps that connect to the NFTs on our Binance wallet? Or do you need to transfer it out of the marketplace first? Or is it something that is still in development?
So our deposit and withdrawal
Mhm.
feature, how we call it, so the cross-chain trading feature is basically working in the ways that once you basically buy an NFT and that NFT is, let's say it's from a GameFi application, then you just connect that to your MetaMask wallet, your Trust wallet, and then from there you can carry it on and deposit it in your GameFi application. So that's how the withdrawal works. And the same goes for deposit. So let's say you own a ETH mainnet a minted NFT that is whitelisted. You connect your MetaMask wallet, and then you just deposit it into Binance NFT, and then you sell it, and then you're basically hopefully successful with the trade. If not, you can withdraw back to your MetaMask or Trust wallet. So that is the functionality, how it works.
Awesome. And one last question from the community is, with the acceptance of various financial institutions in the cryptocurrency market, would the gas of the ETH and Binance blockchain become a bank commission, or are they each separate?
I think there is a fee at depositing when you deposit this into. This is from the Ethereum mainnet. This is the gas fee that is charged there. This is something that we cannot influence. Withdrawing, I believe, is gas free, but would have to actually check about the exact gas prices there. But I think that's the process right now as it is.
Perfect. Awesome, David. Well, again, David, we've dove into quite a lot today. So I just want to end this off by giving you a chance to tell people where to stay updated with you and Binance NFT so that you have an opportunity to tell people where they can stay around and get to know your work.
Yeah, so we are, traditionally more on Telegram, but now we have also opened a Discord channel. So
Amazing.
please join our Discord channel. I'm personally also I love Discord. So please join our Discord channel. That's number one. Of course, please also join the other channels, Instagram, Twitter, and so forth. Be aware sometimes there are some scam pages that kind of look also like Binance NFT, but we kind of remove that immediately once we see those. If you want to get in touch with me, just please add me on LinkedIn. That's the best. Thing. So there are not many David Ans on LinkedIn. So please just search for David An, and then you will find some guy who looks like me, and that's potentially me. Yeah.
Amazing. And are you planning to change into some kind of PFP anytime soon, or no?
Yes, I think, the funny thing is that even though you are in the NFT space and geez, why are you not having like a PFP and so forth? And this is, I'm still having some value. I'm probably old school in that sense that my PFP is still like some sort of a profile picture of myself. And so I might change it in the future, but I'm not sure yet.
One day we will convert you, so don't even worry about that. Awesome.
Sure.
So I will be putting the Discord links, Instagram links in the stream text, and if you guys would like any tips or tricks of navigating the NFT Binance Marketplace, I will also be linking a video David did with Binance in the stream text. But that said, again, I'm just going to be mentioning this. Ode to the Crypto Whales is dropping on Binance NFT from October 30th to November 7th. We're live on their website, so be sure to check that out. Again, David, it was an absolute pleasure having you. I've learned so much, and I cannot wait to have you again sometime.
Thank you, Anissa. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Have an amazing day, David. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.